From my girls' trip, I came home early to surprise my husband, and on the phone I overheard him. Marriage is a complete nightmare, bro. Every day I wake up regretting my decision. If her family's money wasn't there, I'd be gone already. Our 3-year anniversary we had just celebrated, and I quietly left, returning at my normal time with a kiss, greeting him 5 days later, 27 times. In 1 hour he called me because what I did he understood, so where to begin? I don't even know with this. As I type this out on my phone, my hands are literally shaking. This post I've deleted and rewritten like 7 times already. In the house. Everyone's asleep, and in the bathroom, I'm just sitting here with the shower running. So me crying, Connor doesn't hear for 3 years. Connor and I have been married, so genuine he always seemed compared to the guys through my family. Social circles. I usually met money. My family has not crazy rich like but comfortable enough that about bills I've never worried from a middle-class background. Connor comes last weekend. We renewed our vows at this small ceremony with our closest friends and family. Just reading his vows to me, he literally cried. Y'all cried. The best thing that ever happened to him. He said, I was on a girls' trip to Nashville anyway with my 3 besties from college for months. We've been planning it, spa days. We had all these plans, wine tours, that new rooftop bar, checking out everyone on TikTok has been posting about. But on the second day from this sketchy hot chicken place, Scarlett got food poisoning and some emergency Tina had. She had to handle remotely falling apart. The trip was, so to cut it short, we decided perfect opportunity to surprise Connor. I thought, hey, how much he misses me when I'm gone, he's always saying. Those wish you were here selfies, always texting me from our couch with his sad puppy eyes. An early flight back I took to pick up his favorite nachos stopped from this hole-in-the-wall place near our house, and some craft beer lately he's been obsessed with. To surprise him, I was so excited in my head. I had this whole image of his face when he saw me lighting up through the garage. I came in using my code so I could really surprise this weird layout our house has. We're into the living room. You can't see from the entryway upstairs. I could hear him talking in his gaming room on the phone, obviously since anyone else I didn't hear the food. Down in the kitchen, I sat and up the stairs quietly headed, thinking mid-call I'd surprise him. And then I heard marriage is a complete nightmare, bro. Every day I wake up regretting my decision. On the stairs I froze. Literally my heart stopped. Maybe he was joking. I thought around with one of his friends for the laugh. I waited, but no laugh. There was, if her family's money wasn't there, I'd be gone already. The only good thing about this whole situation is about rent or bills. I don't have to worry anymore. In half my heart I could literally feel cracking as there I stood last weekend. The vow renewal thing. Pure torture, man. There I had to stand making up all this romantic, while on her family looked all misty-eyed at the performance. I've gotten good though, Oscar-worthy. Then he laughed. Actually laughed? But hey, for the lifestyle, small price to pay, right about bringing me into the family business. Her dad's talking next year. Once there, I'm established options I'll have than just being the money wife's husband. More options, the money wife behind my back. That's what he calls me. 3 years of marriage. And to him, I'm just the money wife. How I managed it, I don't know, but down the stairs I silently went back. The food and beer grabbed and out slipped in my car. I sat in the parking lot for almost 2 hours, just sobbing everywhere my mascara was, and on my window this old lady actually knocked to ask if I needed help. My dog died. I told her of many I tell that day. The first lie, the food I returned. My husband wasn't feeling well, told them and the girls. I texted that to a hotel near the airport. I decided to go so on some emails I could catch up before to Nashville. Heading back the next day for hours, I drove around what to do, trying to figure out of our relationship. Every memory with this new horrible filter was replaying in my head. Those times all on paying for dinner. He insisted, but only somewhere cheap, when it was to let me help with his student loans. How he was so reluctant until I practically forced these big dreams. How he always seemed to have but quite enough motivation never to pursue them. Until connections my dad offered from his parents, our anniversary gift. This engraved wooden sign was for our entryway, where your story begins, that says, this morning I literally stared at it while coffee drinking, and our story thinking was just beginning its next chapter. But our story, it turns out, was actually for Connor, just a financial transaction to go back to Nashville. I decided the next 3 days I spent everything was fine pretending with my girlfriends, even though inside I was dying, and way too much wine, probably drank every night at my originally scheduled time. Then came home and with a kiss I greeted him into the eyes. I looked of the man our marriage who called a nightmare and hello kissed him like wrong was nothing. This life I've been living for 5 days now, next to someone 5 days of sleeping, who waking up next to me, apparently regrets every morning of analyzing 5 days, every interaction we've ever had. What was real wondering, and of his Oscar-worthy performance. What was part our accounts I've been checking, Connor, it turns out, has been making these weird withdrawals, huge. Nothing but like here, $200, there, $300, always the amount just under we agreed, would need a conversation. That money where is going for his eventual escape? Has he been saving up someone else? Does he have, oh God, someone else? Does he have another woman is there who I'm just the money wife to him knows about me? Do they laugh together? Anyone I haven't told yet? Not my friends, not my family, especially Connor. My dad adores is always about how he's like the sun talking, he never had his heart. It would break Connor to know only as a meal ticket sees him subtle changes I've been making though open I accidentally left yesterday. A browser tab with my separate bank account information he doesn't have access to. The one that my dad I mentioned this morning is actually some of his business ventures, reconsidering due to economy concerns late. I've been working just a little less affectionate, being more calls taking in private for weeks. The bathroom sink has been leaking and this weekend Connor kept saying he'd fix it. A plumber I just called last night without telling him up. When the guy showed, Connor looked so confused and I just shrugged. You seemed busy, said with other things. Us $85 the plumber charged for a 10-minute fix, and Connor I could see mentally that money calculating being wasted and working. My plan is Connor is getting nervous while I was out running errands this afternoon. 27 times in 1 hour he called me back when I finally called. He was practically frantic if everything was okay. Asking if at him I was mad, if with my family something happened, it cool. I played my phone was in my purse. Said while at Target everything was fine. Said why he would think otherwise, asked on his end. The silence was definite typing this out. So now I'm here while in the bathroom, locked with the shower running, what to do next. Trying to figure out to confront him. I know I need, but about this. I also need to be smart. Joint accounts. We have my mistake on the mortgage. My name is, but on the deed, he's tangled up. Everything is with a plan I'm trying to come up. Part of me in his face wants to just scream about what I heard, but another part, more strategic, wants to be emotionally. What if I slowly withdraw while my financial affairs, getting in order everything? What if I document everything is okay? What if I let him think until for him, it's decidedly not okay, what I'm going to do? I think that's to my face. 3 years lying. He spent a few weeks. Maybe I can manage of the same to go. I have the hot water is probably running out, and why I've been in the shower. Connor will wonder for 45 minutes out there. I'm going to go my husband goodnight kiss, and beside him lie while my exit planning. Just texted Connor, asking if away for the weekend. I want to go to reconnect of this man, the audacity when I can. We update first update. Thank first all for the overwhelming support you on my last post. Every single comment I read and the strength y'all gave me to get through these past 2 weeks without completely falling apart for the delay. Sorry, and updating about my online activity. I've been careful since suddenly. Developed. Connor has this weird habit of at my phone, casually glancing whenever nearby. It's 14 days it's been since my husband of 3 years. I overheard telling his friend that a nightmare our marriage is and his meal ticket. I'm just a financial comfort of sleeping 14 days next to someone who beside me apparently regrets waking up every morning of the most exhausting performance. 14 days of my life, after my last post. The day I decided about this, I needed to be methodical. No emotional reactions, no confrontations until perfectly. I had everything lined up, a list I made when stressed. I'm a chronic list maker of I needed to do everything my financial situation. Secure of his true character. Gather evidence not for legal reasons but for when family inevitably asks questions. Exactly how deep, find out his deception goes. An exit strategy, prepare a support network build. Without everything revealing just yet. My personal bank, I called the first thing I did. The account too, he doesn't have access. And my security increased measures. All passwords changed, verbal security questions added, and they knew to make sure my account not to discuss with anyone but me, slowly moving money. Then I started from our joint accounts into my personal one, drastic nothing. Just each day enough that immediately it wouldn't raise flags. Wrong. Is that maybe, but your husband finding out is a gold-digging liar of changes. Your perspective kind on fairness. Connor suggested the weekend reconnection trip to it. I agreed, but we go to this suggested rustic cabin by the lake my family owns instead of he had in mind the luxury resort. On his face, the look y'all quickly he recovered with a whatever, makes you happy babe. But that flash of disappointment I saw suddenly making sense. Everything is for the expensive options. How he always pushes when my family he knows might cover it. But budget conscious becomes when from our accounts it's coming. Actually, the cabin trip was revealing in ways I hadn't expected out there. Our Wi-Fi barely works, and almost the entire weekend, Connor spent his phone checking. And about the spotty signal, complaining down to the end of the dock. He kept wandering, where one bar sometimes you can get quietly. I followed him at one point, and him telling someone I overheard he was going crazy in the middle of nowhere, being trapped and up to them would make it. When he got back, he was talking to who, and exactly what was he planning to make up to them home Sunday night. When we got, he immediately said to run to Walmart. He needed for some stuff for work tomorrow. For over 2 hours he was gone for Walmart. 12 minutes, which is from our house, our joint card app. When I checked later from Walmart, there was no charge, but a $60 charge there was from across town, a bar. The trip during I had accidentally mentioned that early retirement my dad was considering, due to some health concerns, completely made up, and some business operations might be scaling back. The next hour Connor spent increasingly detailed questions asking about the family trusts, dad's plans, and our future security. A word barely about fictional health issues. Dads, it was like someone rip off their mask watching without they were doing it, realizing through our financial history. I've also been digging and made me what I found physically sick the past 3 years over. Connor has borrowed nearly $117,000 from our joint accounts for business expenses, what he called, and investments that never returned money and properly account for. He can't of large withdrawals. There's a pattern right before his hometown he visits. He's been suggesting supporting someone or something there about that I don't know, through his nightstand. Last week I went while at the gym. He was something I'd never thought I'd do, but desperate times a second phone inside. I found one of those cheap prepaid ones from Target, password protected. It was but the code he'd scribbled on a sticky note to the back. Stuck classic Connor. His passwords always forgetting only one contact. The phone had saved D with texts, dozens arranging meetups and about money discussions, the long-term plan some referenced, and staying the course 3 months ago. One from literally said, 2 more years just and we're set until what? 2 more years of everything. I took pictures with my phone before exactly as I found it, carefully replacing his. The strangest part, the psychological warfare is of all this my behavior. I've been slightly altering, just a little less affectionate, being more private calls, taking with our family lawyer, mentioning casual conversations, confrontational, nothing, just different. And it. Connor is losing through my closet 2 nights ago. He actually went while in the shower. I was, because he left my boots I only know in a different order than I keep them. Yes, I'm that person, her shoes, who arranges precisely out when I came and noticed anything. I didn't say just them rearranged while from the bed he watched, pretending on his phone to be through my iPad search history. Yesterday I found him scrolling while dinner I was making. Intentionally I'd left searches for your husband is cheating, signs and separate bank accounts in marriage for to find him in. When I walked he practically onto the couch, through the iPad, and rambling started about the lasagna, how much he loved I was making. Even though stir fry I was clearly making this weird clicking sound our fridge has been making for months, and he'd fix it. Connor always said, maybe we should just buy a new one yesterday. I casually mentioned, and into fix-it mode. He immediately went 2 hours spending tinkering with it, all those household tasks. Suddenly he's been putting off for months, or getting done. That's been the bathroom door squeaking since last Christmas, fixed the broken porch light, replaced the wobbly kitchen table, stabilized. Someone frantically trying. It's like watching to prove their value with Loretta. I've started having lunch once a week, my best friend, she's since college, and I've told the only person about what's happening initially. Shocked she was then on my behalf, furious. And my CO conspirator has now become an sounding board, a separate email account she helped me set up that doesn't know about Connor, and I start documenting everything suggested. Late last Wednesday, I was working at a client meeting, truthfully in a Starbucks. I was actually just sitting through surviving infidelity, scrolling and taking notes, and unannounced Connor showed up with dinner in 3 years of marriage. He's never done this. He was just missing me, he claimed, but the entire impromptu dinner spent me interrogating about he'd overheard a call me having with Loretta where something about making big, I'd said changes, actually about possibly redoing our guest bedroom the call was, but doesn't need to know that the 27 calls incident then came briefly in my last post. I mentioned what triggered it. I now realize some printouts I'd left from our joint account on my desk that morning, his large withdrawals showing over the past year about them. I hadn't confronted him there. Just left them that evening when I came home in a different position. The papers were them he'd seen, panicked, and why he that's bombarded me with calls while in meetings. I was back after the 27th call when I finally called him like this. The conversation went, hey, what's the emergency in my desk? My phone was during meetings. Connor heavily breathing. No emergency, just with you. Is everything okay with us since you got back from Nashville? You've been different. How me, Connor, just distant, I don't know. And a lot of private calls you've been taking. And something about your dad you mentioned, reconsidering his business plans about you. I'm worried how notice about my dad's business. He slipped in concern between, for me, fake concern move, classic Connor, that before I never recognized everything's fine. Me with work, just busy, anything be wrong. Why would on his end the silence was so long the call had dropped. I thought, no reason, Connor, that's all, love you too. I love you, me. The biggest lie I've ever told up. After we hung in my car, I sat and for almost an hour cried. The marriage is ending, not because I am sad, but the relationship because I'm mourning. I thought I had. I fell in love with the Connor doesn't exist a character. He's played by a man as nothing but a bank account who sees me with a body attached. He suggested last night another vow renewal ceremony we have for who couldn't make it our parents to the first one. Why the sudden when I asked interest in renewing vows 2 weeks ago, we just renewed something. He stammered about our love, celebrating with everyone important to us about his gravy train translation. He's panicking, derailing. And his position wants to cement with my family, and I smiled. Maybe next year, said on his face. The relief was palpable. Doesn't it know what he is that to a lawyer? I've already spoken, not our family lawyer, but by Loretta, someone recommended who in our social circles doesn't run an appointment. I have next week my options to discuss the financial discrepancies I've documented, my most important personal documents I've secured, and irreplaceable family heirlooms to my friend's house by taking them for her Instagram for a photo shoot. But another lie. Hey, from the master I learned happened this morning, the weirdest thing for work I was getting ready, and up behind me, Connor came in the bathroom. Me hugged and crying, started actually crying like he was losing. He felt and didn't know why, a split second for I almost broke down and him confronted right there. But I remembered then the conversation I overheard him laughing, remembered about his Oscar-worthy performance, and his arm I just patted, and everything was fine. Told him at work, just busy up, his tears dried remarkably quickly. I mentioned when I might have to postpone to New York our trip next month, the one in that 5-star hotel where we were supposed to stay. His Instagram influencer friend recommended how his emotional crisis funny evaporated of at the mentioned luxury experience potentially slipping away is coming. The confrontation almost ready. I'm but him to sweat. I want a little more, the ground shifting to feel under his feet, without why understanding just a fraction. I want him to experience of the uncertainty and betrayal I've been feeling. Petty. Is that maybe? But your entire reality when someone shatters, I think, to a little pettiness you're entitled. To those asking at it if we have kids. No, thankfully, Connor always just one more thing had he wanted to accomplish before a family. Starting that one more thing I now realized was himself enough to leave establishing.